All right, guys. So once again, we got to talk about these racist teachers who seem to be popping up out the woodwork lately. It must be because school is starting back up once again. Okay, it's been a whole summer, and I'm like, okay, where did all the woke teachers go? Apparently, again, they were just on break, right? So as soon as school starts back up again, they come right back out the woodwork, and they have not seen to learn their lesson about what happened last school year to all these woke teachers that went on social media to post their indoctrination for the world to see, bragging about brainwashing children in woke racist / gender ideology, right? And we have this teacher who is a elementary school teacher out in Utah, and she posted a video on social media questioning whether or not posh white parents will oppose her classroom built for non-white students. Take a look.
So for the first time in my life, I'm going to be teaching at a majority white school. And I'm kind of interested to see how students and parents react to my classroom, or if they even notice anything about it, because it's built for non-white students. And what I mean by that is, like, if you look around and you interact with some of the materials I have, you'll notice that there's like no white kids represented in that. So just on like that very first level of multicultural education. And I don't think like my new students will mind, but you know, not a single white face there. Same with my coloring pages. I have a big stack of coloring pages that students can use, and not a single one with a person on it depicts a white person or character. Because I just kept looking for pages for them that they'd relate to. And then the only Disney princesses I have are Mulan and Moana, because they're some of my favorites, and coincidentally they are not white. Then another thing is my classroom library. Of course, literature is kind of dominated by straight, cis, white men, so there is a good deal of that in my books, but it is overpowered now from all the books that I've been purchasing to add on to my library that depict a lot of diverse peoples, whether that's people of color, or I have like books on non-binary, trans, otherwise LGBTQ characters. So there's just not a lot of adherence to the status quo on just that like base level of my classroom. So I'm kind of wondering if I feel like some parents might have something to say about that. If my experience with posh white parents in the past holds true for this year. We'll see.
Guys, why do they all look the same, right? They all look the same. I'm starting to think, right, that if a teacher shows up with a job interview and they have some type of coloring in their hair, right, or, you know, they have a look, right, particularly women with short hair, you know the look, right? You know the look, okay? Or they're a man that, you know, wears a dress, right? Again, that's coloring in their hair. They're going to have some type of woke ideology that they're going to push on kids. But really, what really confuses me about these, you know, white teachers who want to push this woke ideology on students, right? In this case, this teacher is stating that, hey, I have a classroom full of majority white kids, right? I think the number is 85%, actually. 85% of the kids at this elementary school are white. And I built my classroom around them being exposed to non-white things, right? Or I built my classroom for non-white students. I don't know what that means, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But the first thing I want to say is that if you're building your classroom for people of a certain race, how is that not racist, right? Because you have this idea and stereotypes about a race, right? And what you should teach people based off their race Again, would that not make you racist, right? Again, I don't know what that means, but if you want these white kids to not be exposed to whiteness so much, why are you teaching there, right? Why don't you just give up your job and let a so-called person of color teach them instead, right? But that would never do that, right? A lot of these woke white liberals that signal their white guilt, okay, they come out here and they virtue signal, they will never, ever, ever give up their positions of authority to a so-called oppressed person of color, right? But they'll sit out here and sing their praises all day, right? And implement racist policies, okay, that discriminates against people, but they will not give up their jobs, right? They will not give up their jobs. But again, my question is, what do you mean by building a classroom for non-white students? Does that mean you're dumbing down the curriculum? Because according to the racist left, right, the white kids, and throw the Asian kids in there as well too, apparently they're smarter than these other so-called kids of color, okay? And that is why we've seen curriculums be dumbed down across the country so that, you know, so-called kids of color, right, aka non-white and non-Asian students can get ahead so they can compete, right? We can put them on an even playing field. Does that mean that you're exposing them to, I don't know, gender and sexual ideology? Because according to some of these woke people, the gender binary is a function of whiteness.
So stitch this and tell me something that white people aren't ready to hear.
The gender binary is a direct result of European colonization. And if we look globally and historically throughout the world and the ways that people have existed and talked about gender, the idea of there only being two genders is a new concept that is directly linked to white supremacy.
Africa did not have a gender binary. Gender binaries, this is a man and this is a woman because he has a penis and she has a vagina thing, is a Western concept, a European concept, a white supremacist concept. When you read any African history of almost any land, Timbuktu, Nubia, Kemet, any of them, they all had armies, vast armies. This was one of the reasons why Europeans could not immediately conquer Africa. It took them centuries. And those armies were comprised of men and women, male or female, however you want to designate it. Because in Africa, it wasn't about what was your gender, what's your size, what's your skin color. It was about what's your skill. Almost every African nation had a female gendered head.
Yeah, which is probably the reason why all those societies failed, right? But that's not a conversation they want to get into, okay? Because apparently the patriarchy is bad. But yeah, that's the history that the woke revolutionaries want to teach kids in school, right? That is what they want kids to learn. That is the non-white curriculum that they want kids to learn about, right? They want them to be dumb, woke activists, okay? That's what they want. That's what they want. And what they don't want is kids to actually be empowered with a real education. Similar to what Ron DeSantis is trying to implement out in Florida. In fact, I want to play a segment from Dave Rubin's YouTube channel in which he interviews Rich Dad, Poor Dad author Robert Kiyosaki. I think that's how you pronounce it. But he's going to talk about what Ron DeSantis is doing in Florida and the importance of that. Because in these videos where I ran against these woke teachers, you know, I think it's best to also provide a solution, a counter to just, well, we need to get these woke teachers out of school, because that's just not the only problem. We got to do more, right? And we got to empower kids with financial literacy. That has to be the answer.
I mean, it really is amazing that we don't teach in public schools in the United States. We basically teach no financial literacy. I don't know if you've seen this, but Ron DeSantis in Florida just signed something where they will start making sure that you have basic financial literacy. And it's like, oh, okay, we're going to actually teach young people something rather than gender.
I'm glad you say that, because I'm kind of torn now between Trump and DeSantis, you know, because Trump and I are always for financial education and all this stuff. But DeSantis is now going to start using some of our things to teach financial education in Florida. So it's changing, but we're up against the teachers' unions. And that's what this book, Manifesto, starts with. I'm not against teachers. I'm against stealing my freedom. And the first chapter is the NEA, National Extortion Association, the teachers union, the most powerful, richest most powerful union in America. But today, when those communists call parents who question, critical race theory and sexual orientation, whatever they're doing, and they call any parent who questions academics terrorists. I mean, it's your kid. Don't you have a right to say what you teach your child? So that's why the manifesto book here is how to combat communism taught in our schools by teaching capitalism in our schools. I mean, at home. My rich dad taught me to be a capitalist at home, not at school.
And I agree with Robert Kiyosaki here. I think that it is important for parents to supplement their kids' education they receive at school by teaching them financial literacy at home. But I also would like to see it taught in school, right? I would like to see schools teach kids things that are actually going to help make them productive citizens in society and climb the socioeconomic ladder. And I think the irony here is that the so-called white supremacist governor, Ron DeSantis, is actually promoting a curriculum and an agenda for schools and education that is going to benefit so-called black and brown people infinitely more than the woke gender critical race theory ideology that has been promoted by liberals and the teachers unions. Right? That's the irony here. Right? Ron DeSantis is promoting education that's actually going to help so-called people of color. The liberals aren't. They're trying to keep so-called people of color dumb and woke. Right? So they're dependent on the government, aka the Democrat Party. Ron DeSantis is trying to empower them with an education in which they can have financial independence from the Democrat Party, right? Which is why they push back so hard against Ron DeSantis, okay? But my point is that it's just not enough anymore to complain about these teachers and say, hey, we got to get out of the classroom, because that's not enough. Our education system is broken. Our kids are dumb, right? They don't know anything. Okay, and we need to start bringing back skills, hard skills in high school that kids can learn and prepare them for life right out of high school. And financial literacy has to be one of those things that should be mandated. And I'm not talking about, a basic financial literacy course. They actually should know some things, right? They should know at least what a balance sheet is, what an income statement is, right? They should know and have these skills to be able to operate in today's society and to get ahead, okay? To be financially responsible, to become entrepreneurs, to build businesses, to empower themselves, because that's the ultimate freedom, right? Financial freedom is the ultimate form of freedom. As long as you're a debt slave in this society, you're going to be a slave to the government and these woke politicians. That's just what it is. This should be a part of the official Republican platform pushing financial literacy in schools. It has to be a part of the agenda. I want to see it a part of the agenda. We have to demand it. Okay? So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.